a muzzle device? That's the real question. Can I do the
450?
Yes, because the muzzle device I could, but I want a very specific muzzle device, and that muzzle device is expensive. And because the AK version is even more so, because they don't make many of them.
Yeah.
But oh well.
We're rolling.
Oh.
11 o'clock, guys. That's the time the bucks move, between 10 and 11, if you want. I know it's hard to sit that long.
Yeah, what time are we getting out?
Well, what's sunrise right now?
Well, let me think here. I think by 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Well, we're up
I don't
next.
get up for work anymore, so I don't.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get up at 5:30.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That way we can have our coffee and breakfast, and then I think if we're out the door here, like
Yeah, if you're there at 6:30, it's just light enough to walk down there. And
6:15 then.
yeah,
Cool.
I feel it. I think this is the year.
I think so too. That's why I got that. I got a doe tag and a buck tag this year.
yeah, I did.
So
Save
You know, I was just reading in the paper tonight. If you bought the combo tag,
It's got a point limit.
well, it does,
Yeah.
yeah. But it also, you can use it, even if you get just the combo tag, you get the 2 buck tags, you can shoot a doe
Oh, on one of the
on
tags.
one of them. That's new. It wasn't like that.
Really?
So, I mean, you know, I bought a doe permit and a regular buck license. I can shoot any buck, you know. But
Yeah.
if I'd have known that, I'd have probably got the combo tag. And then you could, you know, 3 points or better the buck has to be. But,
oh, where we're
You still
hunting,
can
there's a
shoot a
good
doe.
chance. And so,
yeah,
it's gonna be snowy and windy tomorrow.
very windy.
Yeah.
I'm so
I think
happy I'm in the pop-up. I was going to make fun of you for being in the pop-up.
I think
Oh,
it's,
God. Pop-up's the way to do it.
No, there is something about hunting in a brush pile, though. There is something where you just sit there and you're just freezing your tail off, and you're like, "Oh, this sucks." But like, there's this thing in the military. It's called embracing the suck, and
For sure. Well, there's something about that in like everything in life.
yeah, but you know, it's one of those though. Like, if things are cushy and easy, you get no good stories.
Yeah.
You never get a good story where, like, even if you don't see a deer and you're sitting out in a brush pile, and you're sitting there freezing your tail off, and you're frozen to bone, dying near of hypothermia, and you'll be telling that story for the next 50 years of your life or more. You'll be telling that when you know, that's the only thing you remember.
well, I was sitting, well, I was down here below the tree stand there. Except it was farther east in the off, you know, it was actually on Japanier's land, and I was sitting there just on a log. I had seen it and I thought, what the heck, I'm just gonna sit here because I could look down in there. All of a sudden I hear something coming from my right here, and but there was a great big tree and it was in perfect line with that, and it was probably 25 yards away. And all of a sudden this spike horn walks out around it. And I'm sitting there, and it walked. I couldn't move because it was coming towards me. And I'm sitting there, and there was a hemlock tree like from me to you, or probably closer than me to you. And it came, well, it was definitely closer because it came to me between the hemlock and me, sitting wide open just on a log. Mm-hmm. From here to Jeff, I'm sitting with my 30-30. I could have poked him in the ribs when he walked by.
I've had that happen twice,
crazy.
actually.
And I let him walk past, and I shot him in the back of the neck.
No, I've had that.
But I mean, I could have shot him right there, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what he'd do. I didn't want him to go nuts when he was 2 feet from me.
That's crazy. He just walked right up to you.
I have had that happen,
He never
actually, where
looked at me.
you're hunting
Never
now, the brush
seen
pile
me.
there, before Eric had built up the brush pile. I had that happen twice. Spike horn, I could have sat there with my 243 or so. I could have poked out and poked it. And the one, it stopped and it stood there. Like, and about right where you are, but like, well, I'll say where my dad is, and it's just standing there, and because, like, you know, deer kind of have the eyes more a little bit on the side of the head, and it's just looking at me, and it's going with its leg. It's like, it's nervous, but it doesn't know why. He knows something's there, and he just sat there. Spike horns are so stupid.
They are the dumbest.
The same thing happened with a spike a couple years ago too.
I had that. I tell you what, though,
They're probably trying the hardest to get laid, so they're very confused.
It might be, but
It was the rut was.
it's kind of like where you see girls and boys in high school. The girls just mature a little faster mentally, where the boys don't. And you so like it's kind of the same thing. Spike Horn, like you see that picture of that old buck I showed you. He guaranteed is smart as all heck, but when he was younger, he was just a complete idiot. Where does also it's just does are they might just. Who knows? Maybe they might be the same thing. Who knows if they mature faster, honestly? But but it kind of reminds me of like high school kids.
Well, really, I'll tell you. When I think back, I've shot an 8-pointer at 12 o'clock noon. My brother had shot one, and I was sitting on his post because he went to get I don't know where he went to get a vehicle. At 12 o'clock noon, and I thought it was a fluke. And all the other ones, I think, oh man, it's just a fluke that they moved that time. When I start sitting at Danny's and all of a sudden I'm seeing all these, the only time I see bucks is from 9 to 10 o'clock is at least at Danny's is the top-notch spot time. And that's a time, if you're there early in the morning, it's about time you want to get up and go. And that is for bucks. You won't see any other deer. The does, unless something kicks them out. You won't see any does. You won't see any fawns. But I'll bet you 95% of the deer that you do see will be a buck. Unless something chases them.
We'll see how motivated I am at that time.
You have to wait that long.
I know.
It'd be better, in my opinion, it would be better to go out late. If you're only buck hunting, it would be better to go out late. And a little later, and then sit till at least noon.
That's fair. I brought 2 books. I'll be fine.
I'm thinking of bringing a book too.
I got Audible on my phone.
I have that too, because I was see the only reason I was considering going in was I was considering going to church because church is just right there. I showed you where I was hunting, so it's just like it's like I got not even a half mile down.
So you can walk there.
Yeah, I could
walk there and all decked out and all his hunting stuff and his rifle coming in the door.
I considered it actually, not leave the rifle at the blind, but go out and. But if I don't, I'm gonna bring my earbuds and I'm just gonna I'll listen to a sermon or a church service while I'm out there because I think I got enough reception.
Nice.
I'll look for Alistair Begg on YouTube.
If I happen to get a buck,
you can come get me.
Well, first I had Rachel, you probably heard, told Jean that if they're out of church, in that I might go and get Jack. And see if he wants to watch it get gutted and all that, have him hold a leg and I don't know if that's going to freak him out, but I don't think, knowing him, I don't think it will.
I was going to say, I don't
they
think
are going to church.
No, Jack will eat that up.
Those hours.
Yeah, I know.
I hope Ben's like that.
I know.
Yeah, today I was watching.
They get home around. Jean said around 12 or a little bit.
I was watching some shooting videos today.
No,
so
I think that's a good thing for a kid is
Ben
they
would
just
just
start
stare at it. And
some of that stuff.
Yeah,
and I thought that was.
I did it.
It's like, I gotta have my little shooting buddy when he gets a little older.
Along the road,
we can have fun.
Because I have a purpose in all this stuff I do with the kids. Is I'm trying to get them not freaked out about everything.
Yeah.
But we used to go get these deer that would be hitting. Some of them be kind of gory and and then I'd drag them off somewhere and they'd go with and when they're little they thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But now Lily, she just
Yeah.
Well, I love the story that you told when you killed that squirrel.
Yeah. Well, I said that on that first when I was with Shane. We told that story.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Lily is going to be the soft-hearted.
Yeah, I gave up on her as far as...
Yeah. Jack, on the other hand, he's a little nuts. So
Jack is going to be a little cold giller. Yeah. He'll be a good little hunter.
I think he might be a sociopath.
Would you say, like, one of the things in common of all sociopaths or something is that, and psychopaths, is that they... enjoy killing small animals.
Well,
it's not just killing them. It was it was very brutal harming of them.
Like your wife who drowns the chipmunks in their holes, like that?
No.
That doesn't count.
No,
No, not that brutal.
No, it's like, they would skin them alive or whatever else.
Oh.
Yeah, I grew up,
chipmunks.
shooting all that little stuff in that. I felt I made a mistake with you that I didn't let you do it. I always said you have to have if you're going to kill it, you got to eat it. But nobody told me that. But you're hunting now, so I guess it didn't do too much damage.
some of it I do hesitate a little bit, honestly. Now it's more, but honestly, I don't hesitate on the fact of shooting it because it's an animal. I hesitate on the fact that I have to clean it afterwards, and it's just like,
Well,
that's disgusting, and I don't want to deal with it. But so it's like I always say, like at work, if I don't mind working, like paperwork, but I only want paperwork if it's worth the work. So it's like I want something kind of crazy to happen because it's. I get a good story at least or something. It's like you do something interesting.
Well, it's like
instead of like you write out the same report of someone swore at me. The end. It's like, and then you have to. It's like, do you know who you deal with? No. So it's one of those. It's the same thing. It's like a deer, no matter what, it's worth
I'm
it because
hoping
they're
it's good ice
delicious.
fishing this year.
But even there, you
Because
can
then I'm
hesitate
gonna-
a little
if we
bit.
get a
But like where I
nicer
said,
day,
if I
I
see
wanna
that one
bring-
buck there,
I
I don't care what it
ice
is. I'm
fish,
taking a
wouldn't you?
shot because it's 1 in a million deer. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Because
The
when they're
likelihood is
biting
it
up
won't
at
make
the
it to
mine
me,
ponds,
even if
it's
or
fishing,
even if it
though, you
does,
never
I
know.
won't get a shot. But
But
if I somehow get the opportunity,
He likes the
1 in a
fish.
million
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. So I
you
am
like
just.
that.
I will take whatever. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
You're saying ice fishing, King?
well, I like ice fish. But I want to get Jack keeps asking me. Well, I want that he wants to go fishing all the time because I
Oh,
take
okay.
him in the spring. Him and Lily, Rachel and I take him, and we got a spot up by the mine ponds where, in the spring, I know where the fish are.
Yep.
And they go, and a lot of them are little, but a lot of them, we get enough for a meal.
Yeah.
And they have such a great time doing that. And Jack just loves the fish.
Yeah, he does.
And he's already asked me that he wants to go ice fishing. So,
Cool.
Last time I went ice fishing, I had a lot of fun. I think it was the winter before the
Raining.
war.
Yep.
But it was. I had a lot of fun.
yeah, you guys were up at the mine ponds up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, those were good times. I remember when Brian would join us. Remember him coming down with Corey and all of us being out there.
Yeah.
And then Corey and Brian used to argue over whose truck was better. And you remember that real steep slope that would come down on that pond
Yep.
in the wintertime that's tough to get up.
Yeah.
And they both had 4-wheel drive trucks, but Brian had that Toyota. And I was with him, and we just zoomed right up the hill. And Corey, it took him forever to get up that hill.
I remember that. That was on the east pond there. That one there, I don't ice fish. We don't ice fish.
Oh, you're not over there anymore?
No,
Oh.
because I think what happened is they planted muskies in there. Because for a while, we noticed Danny and I, because we fished there for years, and I mean, when we first started fishing there, we'd have to catch over 100 fish each to manage to take home 25 that were worth keeping,
Yeah.
and those weren't huge. So you throw 3 out of 4 back.
What kind of fish? Just some.
Bluegills,
Okay. Yeah.
bluegill sunfish.
Yep.
And but then gradually, one year, a couple of years, we weren't catching anywhere near as many, but they were bigger, which was fine. But then it got where we couldn't hardly catch nothing. But then I heard, then we knew, I had heard there were muskies in there, and those muskies just cleaned
Clean
up
'em out.
on those. I can catch them there in the spring. I know where to go to catch them in the spring, but
I've never caught a muskie. I have seen some huge ones.
yeah.
I've had a couple come right up to the boat.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, really?
monsters.
I've caught tiger muskies. You know what a tiger muskie is?
I know that name, but
It's half regular muskie and half northern.
northern, right?
tiger.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a
We
liger.
used to catch them in.
yeah, yeah.
We used to catch them in. Dad planted them in Lake Antoine,
Really?
and my dad and I used to go fishing all the time. I'd come home from work. This is before I knew Rachel, and I'd get the boat hooked up, and he'd come home. We'd eat supper and we'd go down the lake. A couple times a week. And I mean,
Yeah.
I got a picture downstairs with me holding a string of fish. And they're like this. Some of them, they were those tiger muskies. And nice big northern pike.
Yeah. What do you think there's still big fish in Lake Antoine, or is it?
Oh, there is.
They're not as common. You
It's
don't
harder
hear
to-
about them because, occasionally if you pay attention to the paper, someone will get in the paper and they'll have caught a pike
monster.
like this.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I caught a really big bass. I've caught some really big bass.
Yeah, there's some nice bass.
Yeah. Biggest bass I ever saw was
That's where we started ice fishing. My dad and me, and then when I met Rachel, Danny would go with us. You know, that's how we ended up ice fishing together. And there were tons of perch in there. I mean, we'd go out from the beach area there, and there's a weed line. We knew right, you know, that big whole area there. And you'd catch when they started biting, it'd be towards evening. You would hardly catch nothing at all, and then all of a sudden they'd turn on, just like turning a light switch on.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
And you would pull them up as fast, but there again, you'd probably keep maybe 1 out of 3 or something. So you were allowed 25, or actually, on those perch, you were allowed 50.
To keep?
To keep.
Holy cow.
Yeah, back then you could keep 50.
What is it now? Is it 25?
I think it's 25
Okay.
now. And
wiped them all out.
but I had to. No, I mean,
Keep your 100 fish.
well, really, you had to. You would catch. I mean, you'd catch. You'd keep probably a third of them.
Yeah.
And I'd keep 25, and that was just enough for Rachel and I. We were first married. That's the only fish she likes to eat is panfish that she fries. She won't ever order fish. And but what happened, then they got the bright idea of planting walleyes in there, and that changed the whole thing pretty soon. So we never ice fish there anymore because we can't hardly catch any panfish.
Wouldn't Harold, like almost every year, end up in the paper with some big fish from
My dad?
Yeah.
Only once.
Oh, for some reason I heard that. Maybe
I never even heard that he ended up once.
It's funny. It was right after I was born. I don't know, you were Mib and Tony used to live, on, I forget what the name of that road is. It's the old Kearney Lake Road.
One?
It's a Kearney Lake Road that starts, but not the main road. It's that one that's...
Oh, never mind. Not out in Pembine.
It's where you and I, remember we gave that kid with the jug?
Yeah.
In fact, that might be the jug. It's either...
That's another story.
That's probably the jug. That's another story.
We'll go into that one next.
All right.
But that's where they lived when I was born. Then they moved up to Michigami because at that time they had 2 families that lived by a dam. And that, they had to have 2 because then somebody could have time off because somebody always had to be at the plants. And, for problems. And now I don't know where I was going with that. But
Grandpa got in the paper.
Oh, yeah. And but downstream is Bull Rapids. There's rapids, and somewhere in there was a rock, and he cast out. It's the daredevil from shore, and he caught this huge trout. I mean, it's huge. The picture is still down at John's.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's in his. You have to go in the garage. And right in the middle of the garage is his old toolbox with the little trays. And if you open it up, the cover, and there's a picture. Actually, I should ask John. If I take that, I would mount that.
I was going to say it should be down here.
Yeah, that would
should
be
also
a good
take
spot.
a good picture of that.
And,
take a picture of it.
But he caught one, and it was so big, I don't know how he ended up getting his picture took. But I don't know if it was the first one or second one, because he went back there late another time, and he caught a second one just as big.
And what kind of trout?
I think they were
brook, or
they weren't brook trout.
rainbow.
I was going to say
Might be rainbow.
Brown.
Could be.
Because browns can get quite big.
This was I don't think it would say. I think they were rainbow.
Okay. Well, my dad caught that one. My dad has like a. But
I mean these.
Yeah, I was gonna say my dad was 20 something.
Yeah.
The one that my dad caught, it definitely doesn't seem as big as you're describing. I've seen huge brown trout.
I mean he's holding it like this. And
Yeah. That's
you
awesome.
Yeah, that picture's down at John's. Or I should
Yeah, I gotta see that.
ask John, and that one I would mount and I'd find it.
One of these nights when it's dark, we should just go down. Since we're already out here, I want to see that too.
Just pounded these chips then.
I know.
But you couldn't have cheese.
I indulge every now and then. I brought some Tums. No, there's like a dusting of cheese on these. I'll be okay.
Oh, Grandpa was interesting.
He was a good grandpa.
Oh, he was. I I used to pay attention to him listening to all his stories as he was younger. Grandpa was the only guy I've heard of that's more interesting his
I was
grandfather.
gonna say Eric's grandpa.
Grandfather, but that's an evening in itself of just hearing stories.
They lived in a time when there were no rules, or nobody obeyed rules. There were game wardens, but
Well, there was one of them. Speaking of game wardens, Grandpa was out. Like Grandpa violated all the time. I think he used that lever action. You have up.
yeah, at 33, that was
yeah.
his,
Well, didn't he shoot deer year round?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Food?
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's middle of July, and him and Grandma are canning venison. So like, and game warden showed up, and I can't remember. I think
they were down in the basement canning,
yes, and but
and
anyways,
somebody
so-
knocked on the door.
it was the game warden.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole house just reeked of venison. So it's not like the smell just was not there. And and I'm not sure if the game warden had a partner, but either way, the game warden came in and goes, "Oh, I'm gonna be out after your buddies. Just don't be out during this time."
Yeah, he warned my dad.
I forget who he said. It was like
Sparpanis.
Sparpanis or whatever. He
They
was
were-
going to be out after him.
They were big. They were like market hunters. They were shooting deer. My dad would shoot them just because they wanted to meet, But they would go out and.
Well, I remember asking him if the Great Depression really affected him, and because it affected so many people, and he said it didn't really affect him just because of. He's like, whenever we needed food, he was just like, I would just go out and shoot a deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, it was a different time. Honestly, I hear that time.
I mean,
Like,
I just asked him. That was a separate story.
No, I know, but anyways, the game warden just said, "Oh, all right. Well, just want to let you know I'm gonna be out. Have a good night."
And they're
Don't
probably
go
and
find-
took off.
friends, yeah.
So his buddy knew he was canning venison. Just let him
Well, I
off.
assumed he was.
Well, but no, it was. I don't know. At times, like if there is a generation that's like, if you feel like you're out of place in a generation, that is a generation I think I would have been very, very comfortable living in. Like much more so than I do.
I could see you in the 1800s in the West
that.
as an outlaw.
On outlaw? No, I wouldn't be the outlaw. I'd probably more be the crazy sheriff. But
I could see you.
but you have to realize Wyatt Earp he became a sheriff, was an outlaw at a time. So, but no, it was just an interesting time. Like he was telling me how as a kid they'd be cut, like they thought the Forsberg kids were crazy because they'd be cutting sticks of dynamite in half so they'd have more dynamite to blow things up with because they were blowing things up for fun.
They used to go fishing with dynamite.
No, it was a different thing. It was a chemical that reacted with water. I forget what it was called, but they would put it in a bottle and toss it, and then when it would sink, and when the bottle got enough water in there, it would go. So it functioned more like a death
fish
charge.
float up then.
Yep.
I
No,
don't know if he
I
actually
like.
did it, but
No, he told me he did. He told me he did. You told me he was cutting dynamite in half too. This was back when he'd be sitting around talking with Dennis and all that.
Well,
around
anybody
the
could
kitchen
almost
table
have
down at his
dynamite.
house.
Any farmer could just go down to the hardware store and buy dynamite.
That is crazy. You could just.
No,
I mean,
but
Danny-
you see, the
I mean,
only
since-
reason they started probably doing things where there was one guy went actually it was in Michigan. The worst bombing that had happened in the United States before the Oklahoma City bombing was a bombing of a school way back in the day, and they used dynamite. The guy used dynamite or whatever. Basically, nobody ever tries to take away anything until they realize it's dangerous because of one instance.
Danny had even after I met Rachel, quite a while after we were married, he had dynamite that had been laying around for years, and he was afraid it was, because if it lays around enough, it gets some nitroglycerin in it or something.
It becomes very
And
unstable. It
somehow
might just
he
go off.
called. Somehow the proper people come out and
Bomb squad.
took care of it.
So how come farmers could do it just for land purposes? Or-
It's like
blowing rocks up.
like you see all the rocks that
okay.
are
You see all the
that were
rocks
along the
around
field?
our field; they're all split in half.
They blew them up.
They blew them up.
Actually, they would.
Oh.
Danny would both do that. Danny said I think they would also out at least at their farm. They had some big ones. What they would do is dig a big hole around the rock,
Yeah.
and then they make a big fire and just get the thing super super hot. Because like if you dump water on it, it would cause a rock to crack by dumping water on it. So they'd
sure.
wait till the thing was really hot, and then they'd
If you walk the perimeter of our fields, I mean, there's rocks I cannot believe that they were able to move.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting on top. Any of those rocks, if they're half buried in the ground just a little bit, well, those are ones that are there. But the ones that are sitting right on the surface are the ones the original farmers had to move out.
That's amazing. That I had no idea you could just go buy it.
Yeah. Oh, everybody,
every one of
all
those
farmers
rocks you
had
see
it.
along here.
Imagine in
They were
2020 trying to get a hold of
Yeah.
dynamite.
No, I mean that.
You'd end up on so many watch lists.
The thing is, once you know the process, I mean,
Yeah,
It's
I don't
not
know what I'm
difficult.
talking
Oh, Danny, I mean, they used to do, when he was a kid, him and his dad did it all the time. He said it was really fun.
I bet. See, this is one of the reasons why I feel that I grew up in the wrong time. I almost re-enlisted after I got back from overseas. My MP unit had moved downstate, and I almost joined the sapper unit up here just because I wanted to play with C4. I just knew that they're going to send me to go play with other people's bombs, and I thought that was stupid. So instead of re-enlisting, I got out because I just thought it'd be fun to blow stuff up.
It is fun to blow stuff up. Blow stuff up. There's no doubt about that.
Honestly, I would, yeah, I'd blow Pluto up. No questions asked. If I had a chance or something like that,
What?
that would be
Like
fun.
Mickey Mouse's dog?
Yeah, definitely Mickey Mouse's dog.
Blow up the dog.
Not like something on a planetary level.
I did like the video I saw. I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook with the guy that uses the dynamite to, like, he's gonna blow a big hole in the ice, and he like takes the dynamite and he lights it, and the video shows him throwing it on the ice. As soon as he does that, a dog runs out
And grab
and
it.
grabs it and starts walking back, and everybody with the camera just like, you can see the cameras going like this and going away because the guys start running away from the dog that's coming.
And the
at
dogs
them,
are chasing
and
it.
you just hear a big explosion.
He kills the dog?
Well, yeah.
Oh my god, the poor dog.
I heard somebody was. I don't know who. But I heard somebody was out Lake Antoine during one of the fishing derbies, and somebody put something that was a bit of a charge down through one of the holes, and boom! And
There was a
people were
house
out
in
looking
Lake
around.
Antoine.
In?
There is a house in Lake Antoine.
Really?
In Lake
In the
Antoine?
lake.
Where?
Well, I don't know if you could find it, but they were moving it across the ice. You know how people move houses? Well,
Yeah.
they were with horses and they
When
were
was this?
And they were moving it across
Back
the
in the
ice
day.
to put it. This is
They
way
used to
back.
Long, I was gonna say it's gonna be a long time
Yeah,
ago.
and I think it's in my book at home. I bought it on Dickinson County, and it broke through the ice,
Oh my gosh.
and they couldn't get it out.
Well,
So
yeah.
I'm sure what it did is just laid there, and then it eventually broke up and
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
sank to the
past it.
bottom.
That would be an interesting little show. Just go read one article out of there and talk about
Well,
it. That would be
I got that
interesting.
Dickinson County book. If you you should read it. Then you know
No, I
what-
have read part of it.
what happened.
The news in there was great. Like nowadays, they cover up over things, and they would like if some bad people like did something and they bit the dust. It's like, and they'll talk about how they deserved it. I mean, the way they wrote papers back then it was quite different than nowadays.
Everything seems different than nowadays.
Nowadays doesn't even know what nowadays is.
We don't even know how to. I don't know.
That's why I walk around. In fact, this over by Eric's there, those little big pits over there by you.
Which ones?
Those pits by your house, just off your property. They're coming this way.
Oh yeah,
All kinds of stuff. I was cutting wood, and all of a sudden I seen this by the ground there, and I thought, boy, that's weird, and a different name.
an old bottle.
Yeah, it
I was
is.
trying to read.
And I had Rachel look it up, and it's from some pop company back in there.
So you were walking back there and you found that in the ground?
But it was, just the top was sticking out. Top is a little chipped. Rachel looked it up, and it was worth $4. Except the top is chipped on it.
So it's probably worth $2.
Three
Oh,
and a half.
it's got a really.
Well, if you're selling, it's probably worth $6. If,
It's got a really cool person on the
Yeah,
back. Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
why I took it home.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was full of dirt and all that. I didn't
Yeah,
clean
well,
it out.
we found a bunch of those at my parents' house too. Not those specifically, but
While your parents' house, that's where we used to go stump jumping.
yeah.
That
You-
was
your
the
house is the old
main
part of you.
spot.
That was
That
a
was
ma-
the parking area in
Stump
town.
jumping?
That's what we called it.
jumping.
You know what's funny?
That's what it was back then.
I'm trying to figure out how that even correlates.
I don't ask me.
See, what's funny is like he would go mess with people who are parking, like
I didn't. I
well,
was
you were
just
with them.
riding
So
with other people.
you were
that
with,
did.
so you were involved. So like they would cut down a tree over the road or something else,
I
you
wasn't
know.
with that time.
But anyways,
By Indiana Mine Pit, or not Indiana, Fiume, going to Fiume on, what would be the north side, south side? Anyways, not the one by Danny.
Okay.
And, I wasn't with that time, and they went down there and I think they knew who it was. and they went up and they had it was a Wender's. They had a chainsaw and they cut a tree down right across the road.
Oh,
so
funny.
they couldn't get out of there.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was way before it was a park, so nobody
Yeah.
went down there much. But
See, that's really funny because like I've had just as much fun ruining good times when I worked in Norway because you'd go patrolling through areas looking for people doing stuff. So
I was parked somewhere once with a girl in high school, and cops rolled up on me.
Yeah, and they
We were out in the middle of the woods. I couldn't, and girl was on top of me, and she like looked out the window, and she's like, cops, and I thought she was joking because we were out in the middle of nowhere. I was
see
like,
a little figure
no,
on the bottom.
I was like, no way, and
I loved ruining people's good times.
yeah,
It was hilarious.
and I couldn't find my shirt.
I found all kinds of.
No, I had a lot of fun doing that. There was one I remember going up on. I don't remember who was on top. Either way, I thankfully never. I never saw anything, but it was stump. My dad was stump jumping, and I just
he was stump jumping.
I was
Oh, as in stump jump. Come on.
But anyways, I'd be out. So I rolled up and I went up, because you always have to check, like, are you here of your own free will or whatever else? You
Oh,
know?
yeah, that's
So anyways, you go up there, check, make sure everyone's legal age and so on, and I go up there, and this girl, like, all of a sudden starts looking, and she goes, because she was working, like, her dad knew one of the other guys I worked with, and she goes, is so-and-so, I won't say who, just in case, it was so-and-so working. I was like, yep, he's in the car. And the look of fear that came across that face,
Oh, right.
I haven't seen that much fear since, like, some people I dealt with overseas.
Oh,
like, those all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
my partner was not too pleased at the time. But he was, like, sitting there, it's like, I think I'm going to have to text her dad.
I got asked the same thing. It's like, are you your own free will and all that stuff? Well, he asked the girl.
No.
Why don't they ask me?
Yeah.
No, officer, please. She took advantage of me.
No, without it.
I remember too, and it was so funny because I was 17, the girl was 18, and I remember the police officer asked her age, and she hesitated and lied because she thought because since she was 18 and I was 17, there was some weird legal difference there. And she's like, I was 17, and he's like, why'd you hesitate? And she's like, I'm 18. It's like immediate, but it was just silly.
I will say it is really funny watching people be scared.
Oh, it was so.
I won't lie. And not to say, it's like one of those you sit there. It's entertaining. There's this other one. My partner probably would have arrested him, but I gave him a break because I had worked with him somewhere else. This guy, he was parking with this
There
girl,
used to
but
be,
guaranteed he was drinking.
There
But
used to be
I
parts of
didn't
old
check
cars there.
because he was parked. He was not driving.
The cranes
And I told him
along
it's
the
like,
side there, and
it's like
somebody took
caught him.
them.
It was over at Knight's
they're
Kingdom,
gone.
because it's not far from the bar. People sneak over, and so anyways, I sit there and I told him, well, and he's like, after you check that they're okay or whatever, like legal for what they were doing there, I told him, if you had been drinking, you better not. Yes, you better not
sure.
drive, because if you do, I will arrest you. Because if you do and you have been drinking, I will arrest you. And we kept going by them for like 6 hours.
What, they were drinking?
They had driven drunk over to go by Knight's Kingdom to go fool around. And I had ruined their good time, and then we kept going by and we'd spotlight them. And they were sitting there and they would just be chatting away, and they'd look over at us as we're driving by.
Yeah.
And they stayed the whole time. I think he knew he got a good deal.
I bet you she had some explaining to do. Possibly when she got home.
Oh, that one, those were adults. No, that little girl, though, yeah, I'm sure. Well, like 16, 17-year-old girl, yes, I'm very, very
You
sure.
didn't report it to the parents, did you?
I think he did. Technically, the age of consent in Michigan is 16. They're allowed to do it.
Well, who's he?
Like, my partner
you were
knew
writing
her
something.
dad
Oh, okay.
and was going to let her dad know.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's interesting that the age of consent is 16 in Michigan.
I think that's just general. A lot of places have it. I think there are other places that aren't. But, I mean, for some way, there has to be some age, that it all of a sudden it says. So they pick. I'm sure they put it there because, like back in the day, I'm sure people got married then.
Oh, for sure.
Nowadays, that's not the case. But back in,
I mean, not,
Like Bible times, if you had
100 years
12.
ago, if you hit 20 and you weren't married, you were considered an old maid.
That's so funny.
So like 16, that was probably, okay, that's marrying age, most likely.
Well, it was, but people didn't live
That's
as
so
long.
young. 25. We had married for 9 years. I got married at 16. Have like 8 kids.
Well, you got to
But
remember,
likelihood knows you would really like your life, though.
kids weren't as... Kids are kids a lot longer nowadays than kids were kids 100 years ago.
That is,
Coddled a lot more.
oh,
Well, yeah,
George
and
Washington,
not the
I think he was like 7 or 8,
Yes.
and he was out like being a land surveyor at like 8 years old.
There was a
So like
captain.
you're talking like that's major responsibility. 8 years old, land surveying.
Yeah.
There was a kid that I think he was around 9 or 10, and he hired himself out on a ship. Just helper on a ship. By the time he was either 12 or 13, he was in command of a warship.
Where is this?
This is many hundreds of years
Yeah.
ago.
Was it
This-
England or was it?
No, it was in the United States.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense because
Yeah.
like where I was talking,
I-
like George Washington was,
Grew up
like
so fast.
That's why, I mean, people grew up fast. Nowadays,
Well, yeah, you're 12 and you're in charge
So,
of
but-
a warship.
but
yeah,
no,
that's
but-
grown up.
But you're talking responsibility
crazy.
now. And now you look at it as like an 18-year-old kid. They're an idiot. And this is
Oh,
not
for
to be
sure.
mean to them. It's
Yeah.
just because we all were 18. We all were stupid at that time.
Yeah, everyone's dumb.
But now you look at it as
I mean, they made
there's
it.
like that. Really, honestly, that 12-year-old or George Washington there at 8 puts me to shame. It's like why? And I'm not complaining about how you raised me by any means, but in some ways it's like
I coddled you.
I'm sure you did a bit. You did.
That's why you turned out the way you did. You were coddled.
I mean, those were, times are different.
No, but it's
just
just
the way
saying,
it
it's
is.
one of those things like, they treat kids in a certain way nowadays, but in reality, it's like you got safe spaces where like a 12-year-old
Yeah.
technically has the mental capability to command a warship effectively. I think there's.
That's hilarious. Yeah, compare the 12-year-old warship leader to like the average
25-year-old.
Yeah, or
Not you,
in
not you,
all
but-
these like colleges where there's safe spaces and
Right.
microaggressions.
Right.
You said something that hurt my feelings.
Words are violence. It's like, violence is violence.
No,
listen
you
to that.
have
It's
not
just-
lived. They say, oh, words are violence. You have not lived in a place that's
I was
violent.
gonna say you've experienced violence.
No, I have. It's like, so like I see this here, it's just like, I think they're like, they talk all these safe spaces. Oh, they heard that? No, that's a joke. Honestly, they would not that it would be good, like morally wrong, but they would do better where they hear words are violent. Like these kids who never got beat up on the playground. Or at least had the new let it. Or I never got beat up on the playground, but I could run fast. Like I did not go into we'll call
punched in
it
the
fight
stomach
mode
once,
until
and I
after I joined the
deserved it.
military. But it was one of those, like these are kids who have not faced consequence ever, and they get what they want all the time. So they just all of a sudden they just keep doing it, and now they just know that they whine a lot online. It's like, I'm sorry. I think a lot of the problems online would be solved just if they would try saying it in person to somebody because they'd get punched in the face. Again,
Definitely.
not this. Again, I'm not saying that is. I'm not saying it's morally
I
right,
heard
but there
used
is.
to be in the old Pop-Tarts,
There's like
almost as much aluminum.
you could
in,
almost say
I don't think they're the same
that
now.
armed society is polite
as in
society
the
because you
whole
know
can.
that there's a consequence if
Because
you run
people
your
would
mouth.
collect just
And
these,
everybody now thinks they can run
and
their
they
mouth.
said there's just as much
Because
aluminum
they can
at
get
that
away
time.
with it.
I don't know. They're pretty
And-
hollow now.
I don't know.
As there
Well, when
was in
you-
the can.
Yeah, interesting.
It's interesting with the internet because when you insult someone online, there's no consequence. Because if you can say something mean to someone on the internet, you don't see them like get hurt or like you know what I mean. You don't see their feelings get hurt because when you see if you're not a crazy person, when you realize you hurt someone's feelings, you feel bad and you don't do that again. But when the internet's completely faceless and anyone can say all sorts of crazy stuff on there.
I mean, people do really crazy things. Like they've had like kids will lose a video game, so they get mad, so they SWAT the person who killed them in a
So is there
game
much of a fight
to send
when
the
you got
SWAT
in
team
there?
to go get them, and who they might
Much
get
of a
shot.
fighter
No,
in
this
there?
literally happens
In the stove?
occasionally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
like
I do it on the log on.
no, it's like these are people who have not faced real consequence, and I don't know. I mean, my toddler now, she knows the word consequence. I tell her if you she hears it now. If you don't do this, you are going to get a consequence. She knows what
Chained up in the garage, on the
Yeah.
radiator.
Joanna, the little sweetheart.
Right.
No, it's like I just like she knows what a consequence is. My 3-year-old knows what consequences are better than a lot of people your age. And you,
Yeah.
again, you know what they are, but it's like, a lot of people your age don't.
For sure. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, why can my toddler know this and what should
Well,
be functioning adults
gotta-
don't?
Yeah, she knows it now.
She does.
Things change.
But, it's one of those, it's still, if I parent her right, she
She's
will
over
know.
there.
No. I'm going to make you fat. They're baked. They're 65% less fat. So it's going to take you 65% more chips to get fat. So eat. Woo!
That just means you can eat more.
It's true. That's why you get them. Because Americans like to eat. So if you want to snack more, you get the fat-free stuff so you can eat more food. No, it's one of those, if I do my job right, I know my kid will know consequence, and therefore she will become a respectable member of society.
Well, for sure.
Same thing with my son.
Well,
I mean, and again, I know
parents
that
can do everything right,
I understand that.
and kids still.
I've seen that, so I understand that. But I'm just saying, in general, the general rule is if you put in the work, your kid will turn out right. And so, no, that is one of those things where, I don't know, parenting's fun. I won't lie. I like parenting. But comes up with all sorts of things. I started coming up with a Disney song, but it was like talking about Ben pooping in the diaper. Wish I could remember it. It would have made a good parody for YouTube. If I could say.
Shane and Allie have that one for Rose, the Disney rewrite of the Gaston song.
I haven't heard.
Like, from Beauty and the Beast. Nobody, something like Gaston, nobody, whatever, like Gaston. You know one?
Oh, okay.
No, I do like nobody poops like Rosina, nobody.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of know what you're talking about. I didn't know that was. Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know the movies.
This one was a whole new world. It's a whole new poop. It may come out green or yellow, but no matter what, it's goop. A whole new poop. It was one of those. I was singing this today.
That's
my
song, right?
yes, but it was like a whole new. Speaking like my son's like he just turned 4 months today. So it's like I'm sitting there and he's just sitting there grinning for me, thinking this is hilarious because he doesn't know what words are. He just knows someone's paying attention to him.
Yeah.
Is my water boiling over there? Sorry.
Steaming.
Pretty cool.
Maybe.
Alright.
So-
Where's that box of tea? Here.
So, Dad, bear story. Tell me the bear story.
Well, you've heard that one a lot.
I know, but it's good. That's why I'm asking.
And I'd like to hear it again as well.
All right. I should bring the pictures down. And
That's enough of a picture right there. We can show that right now. Grab the picture.
We were flying in we were going up to Canada, and we were flying in to a remote camp. And we were the last group going in the fall.
That's a great picture.
And
I'll never take such a good picture in my life as that.
we were the last group going into the fall, and so our outfitter was with us. And as we were approaching, we were in a pretty good sized float plane.
Yes.
As we were approaching, I could hear him say, "What's going on down there?" Because he could see all these guys, the group that was in ahead of us. They were out on an island with all their gear. You could see all their gear on this little island that was maybe 100 yards out from, a couple 100 yards out.
Oh, yeah, I will in a second.
And so we landed, and the guys, when they seen the plane coming, they started motoring over. And when they landed, the guys come out and asked them what's going on. And he says, "Well, there's been a bear trying to get into camp while they were there. They had tied knives on the end of sticks to make spears." Because they was trying to get in through the window at night and all that, even while they were there. Mm-hmm. And
Would you? That's like a very hyper aggressive bear. Would you say that's like unusual
it's
activity?
very unusual.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this
That's crazy.
is a Canadian bear.
Okay.
Canadian bears, at least this was pretty way out. They have virtually no contact with people, so they don't fear.
That makes sense.
They're French Canadian bears. They speak French.
And anyways,
Well, they're French, they're cowards.
anyways,
So
these
you're
guys, they
cheating
had enough of
automatically.
it. They were poop all behind the camp. They wouldn't go to the outhouse because they were afraid to go to the outhouse. So behind the camp was all.
Okay.
Anyways, they finally bailed out. And they went to a camp, an abandoned camp on the far end of the lake. So they let the bear have run of the place. And that bear broke every single window.
That's crazy.
He ripped they had gas refrigerator. You know, you had gas lights and gas refrigerator and a gas stove. He ripped the door off of the refrigerator and hauled it out of the camp. I eventually found it a couple of 100 yards back in the woods, maybe 100 yards back in the woods, probably. And so that bear had the whole run of the camp while there and ate everything. It bit into the mosquito repellent cans, so that must have tasted real good.
Must have smelled like orange.
And all that. And anyways, so Remy was our outfitter, and he was madder than old heck. He was so ticked off at those guys because they let it, that they were from Lower Michigan. And they said, well, we've never dealt with bears, because he was just chewing their ass out like crazy because they let that bear
I wish I could have seen this.
camp.
This would have. Well, I wish you took me to Canada.
And that's when they said, well, we're from Lower Michigan. We don't deal with bears.
Yeah.
Anyways, because they went down and they stayed in that camp and they only came back to catch the plane. That's why they were out on the island. And so he gets out and he looks at us, he says. And then while we're there, while the plane was there, the bear shows up. And but nobody had a gun. And Remy, he was ticked off. He grabs the axe out of the camp and just like a cartoon, he's chasing it around the camp, the clearing, throwing the axe at
Oh my gosh.
the bear. And he comes back and he says, "You just gotta show him who's boss." And then he says to us, he says, well, he says, you either go home, Dennis and I and Jim, you either go home or you stay here and I'll come back with a gun and I'll shoot the bear. And so by then he had chased the bear away. And I don't know, well, we didn't drive all the way up, we drove 12 hours straight. So we said, well, we'll stay.
Definitely.
And so all our gear was down off the plane. I got pictures of it. It's a pile on a rock just up from the lake. And it was kind of downhill. Not real steep, but it was definitely grade. And so Remy flies back with that plane, and he had his own plane. And he said, I'll come back and shoot the bear. And so we're up there, no sooner did he take off, and we were up there talking. And all our gear is down there. And all of a sudden the bear comes out of the brush. The brush is thicker than old heck there. The only thing you got is a clearing. And he comes out of the brush and he's heading towards our supplies,
Okay.
And I don't know, the adrenaline got in me. I grabbed a rock and I took off, and I could run back there, and I can't run worth nothing now. And I took off and I ran straight at that bear, downhill, and I could run, and I was wide open, and that bear was right up to our stuff. He hadn't started into it. And I'm getting closer, and I thought, man, I don't know if I can stop. And I said, one of us, and these are the thoughts that went through my mind. I said, one of us has to give here.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Put the shoulder, just plow right through the bear.
And so I'm flying down that hill, and I got that rock. And finally, the bear must have knew I meant business, because he turned to leave, and I clobbered him with that rock. And then he went off in the brush, and we didn't see, and then we hurried up and got all our stuff out of there. And then and we put it in the cabin, although every window was broke.
In the boat.
And anyways, but then that bear would pop up before he got back with the gun. It would just show up. Here it'd be over here. It was so thick you couldn't hear it. And then all of a sudden you'd see him over here. He just kept circling. Probably every half hour, 45 minutes, all of a sudden there he is, right there. You know, he just stayed in the vicinity, just kept circling around. But he must have remembered that I clobbered him with the rock because he wasn't coming in. And so anyways, that went on until probably at least 2 hours later. Remy comes with the gun. And he said, well, put some food out on a stump. So we put something smelly out on a stump. And he says, go fishing. So we went off and we fished. We were gone out there at least a couple hours. And finally, we weren't catching any fish. And we weren't in the mood for fishing. So we came back. And Remy said, well, he never showed up. Maybe he won't come back. He says, I'll leave you the gun. He left me 3 shells. And 30-30. I knew that's what I used to hunt with back then.
3
Open
shells.
sights, so. And so anyways, he leaves us the gun. And we were just sitting, and then he jumped in his plane and took off. And I swear that's the bear knows the plane. You know, because I bet you within 20 minutes to a half an hour, Jim, I think we were still hauling up. He come in or he had been out. He comes in. He said his eyes were about like this. He said, "Bear is back," and I had the gun, and I wanted to shoot that bear. I was hoping that Dennis or Jim were gonna. I said, I want to shoot that bear, and they didn't argue. So
I would have argued.
I went out there, and it was walking along.
Actually, back then I
It
wouldn't.
was behind some trees there, you know, and I could see it. We were only about probably 25 yards from it. And then it just started walking out, and he walked right on top of a log, and I popped him right through the rib cage there, and he went over and knocked him off the log, and then he tried to get back up on it, and I hit him again one more time in the neck, and that was the end of it. And anyways, so then we dragged him out, and there's this bear, and so we took some pictures. Well, actually, we didn't take pictures right away.
Let's see.
You can see that he skinned out the leg right here.
I thought we were wondering, well, what are we going to do with this thing? You know?
Yeah.
Finally, I said, I bet you, I know a deer floats in water. I said, I bet you this thing will float, just like a deer. You know, and then we could drag it off. And that's what we ultimately did. But before we did, I skinned out that, you can see, if you look at that picture, it's that one leg, it's real thin.
Yeah.
Because the hide is, I spread it out so it looks, but anyways, I skinned out that hind quarter and took off a big chunk of meat.
Okay.
And then we just dragged it down to the lake, hooked it up to the boat, and went about a mile down shore and pulled it up on.
How was the meat?
I cooked it up that night. No, the Dennis is usually the cook. He didn't want to. I cooked it, yeah, and I'm no cook. But anyways, you know, I cooked it, and they each tasted. Oh, it's not bad, you know. And so I ate, you know, it was a pretty big chunk of meat, and but they wouldn't touch it after that. They just said that, and then.
Really?
Then I had a piece in the.
I have a story about
cooler.
Grandpa about bear also.
Okay.
But then, you know, it was getting to the last. I mean, all the windows were broke out, and luckily it didn't mess the beds up. It didn't poop on the beds. So, and Remy got the gas stove working, so it was, you know, similar to this, and a little bigger. But so we spent the week, and then we were leaving on a Saturday. And all of a sudden, we were out fishing. All of a sudden, Friday, this plane comes. And it kept buzzing us, coming down like that. He did that about 2 or 3 times. And then he would fly over to camp. And I don't know, one of us said, I bet you it's a game warden.
Should have just sat out there for a while.
And he wants
He'd run
to
out of gas
know
eventually.
what's going, you know, checked out. And I'm thinking, well, you know, he probably don't know anything. So we went back, and sure enough, it was the game warden. Trouble is, when the plane landed, the pilot hit a rock and punched a hole in the pontoon.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we pulled in with the boat, here's the pilot in his underwear, diving underneath trying to find the hole in the pontoon. And the game warden wants to check out our stuff, you know, everything. and I got the gun sitting on top of the. I'm thinking he doesn't know about it, but in hindsight, he knew about it.
Yeah.
And anyways, so and then the pilot asked, "Has anybody got any putty or something?" And Jim had brought some epoxy putty where you just do it, and so he went and got it, and so he dived down under there and patched the hole. And he kept hollering at the pilot, "Hurry up, we got to get out of here." And I'm thinking, "Hurry up, get out."
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get in trouble for shooting a bear. I mean, Canada don't mess around if you violate their game laws.
I think
They do not mess around. And the gun was laying on top of the bunk. He went in. The refrigerator was gone, so Remy had brought us a cooler with ice. And so all our fish that we were allowed to take home were in there. And so he counted all the fish. And I had found a refrigerator door, and it was leaning against the tree. I had hauled it back. And so then the pilot was hollering at him, we got to get out of here. So he hurried up and got in the plane. And they taxied around, and the pilot, the game warden, had to sit on the pontoon and pump water out. He stand on the pontoon. He had to pump water out while the plane was taxiing out to where it could take off.
Oh my gosh.
And so
I bet he was just pissed that he came.
Yeah.
flew out because he probably had something to
so
talk
they get
about.
out,
He's
yeah.
like, I can't hang around.
and so then the plane starts speeding up, and the game warden made a jump to get into the plane, and he kicks the door. And you would think on a door on an airplane there would be something on it. The door is just sitting on pins. So when he kicked the door popped up and fell in the lake. So
It's like the cherry on top of that.
and so then the plane turned around and come back. And oh my gosh, I'm thinking, here we got away with shooting that bear, and now this game warden's coming back again. And he comes back there, and so they had to take turns pumping out, or the game warden was pumping out the pontoon, and luckily the pilot got in there, and because we're so far out, he couldn't radio his base, so he ended up a patchwork of other pilots that were out there, whoever he was getting, because he had to find if it was legal to fly without a door. And so finally, through a patchwork of people, he got the okay to fly.
Okay.
So then it went all through the same thing again. The game warden pumping out, all the while they're taxiing out. Then he jumped in. Then he didn't kick. There was no door to kick in, and so they flew back.
That guy is still telling stories about. You tell this story until this day. Guarantee you that pilot and the game warden tell that story
Probably.
to this day. Except
They're
anyways,
trying
I
to
will-
forget that.
Yeah.
I almost had that guy that shot the bear.
the thing is though, I would almost see if you get a hold of Remy just to have him ask the game warden about that. Years later.
he retired.
Well,
But anyways, the
but it'd
next
be worth
day,
the story.
before it was a Saturday, and we were supposed to fly out. It was Saturday to Saturday, yeah. So we were supposed to fly out on Saturday, and this is the very next day. And all of a sudden, here comes this other plane in, and they taxi up. It wasn't ours, the one to take us out. These old planes. It's hard to find parts for them. They're Beavers, and they're made in the 40s. They're just ideal. I mean, they're always refurbished. But to replace like doors and things, it's really hard to do. And so they sent a team of divers up to find that door.
Oh wow.
And so we explained as best as we could. It was a quarter mile out in the lake by the time, or more. By the time, I would say about a quarter 40, yeah, that where he kicked the door off, and and we tried to explain as best as we could where that door was. So then our plane came in, and we flew out, and they were still looking for it, and then when we get back, because I asked Remy, I told him, I said, don't tell anybody. I don't want to get in trouble for this. I asked Remy. And we no sooner get out of the plane, about 4 guys come up and say, "I hear you guys had some excitement up there." And I didn't know. We never said a word. Mm-hmm. We threw our stuff in the car and away we went. But then in thinking later, I did take the teeth home.
Or no, the claws.
Or the claws.
Oh, it was behind Eric.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh yeah.
I did. That's the only thing I took home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But anyways, so Remy must have told everybody what happened. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously it was a legal kill.
Yeah.
Being the situation it was so. But you know, I asked him not to tell anybody, and then all these people know, and I didn't know if they were game wardens trying to, you know, in you know how your mind goes, maybe in disguise trying to get information out.
End up in Canadian jail.
Yeah. They're strict. They're huge fines.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you're overfished, I mean, it's huge.
Do you have any idea?
Hundreds of dollars. I mean, it was back then.
Yeah,
if you had more fish.
Yeah.
Because people would try to hide them in their boats.
Polar bear, even in self-defense, in a certain, I'm not sure if it's a certain area of Canada or the whole thing. Even in self-defense, $20,000 fine.
There's polar bears in Canada?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, Canada goes way north.
Yeah, Canada goes up. It's the closest part of North
Like super. Yeah, what am I saying?
Like even the Hudson Bay. Like look up the Hudson Bay, but they'll go up like around in there. Like the polar bears will be down there all the
Canada's
way
a
up.
huge country.
Yeah. I don't know
It's
why.
the second biggest in the world.
But
I believe.
anyways, we ended up going back there again the next year. We went back to the same place because we had good fishing there, and that was the most exciting trip I ever had. All of us ever had. And sure enough, it was Remy again, and he said, he says, there's been a bear hanging around again. So he left a gun. This time it wasn't a 30-30. I like that 30-30. I was used to that. He left some old military thing with a few shells, but I kept hoping a bear would show up.
Can't fault.
That's funny.
You know, it's funny.
It was fun. That was an adventure.
You look at this picture here.
Yeah.
I've been to war. I've done crazy crap. All sort of that. I will never take a picture where I look as manly as my dad in this picture.
You do look very manly.
And the thing is, Grandpa he has a picture at his house there of Grandpa holding a fish. He's got the the old man looking just like this, and he's going.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't take it. Like I could do the exact same thing, and I'd be like,
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's like I'm just gonna. I just couldn't resist. You know, how
it's not even a big bear. He had one.
It isn't.
He had one tooth missing. You can see the scar on his face. And, I mean, he was just a beat-up old bear, or a young bear. I don't know. Maybe he was old. I don't know. But he wasn't that big.
Actually,
a deer. He wasn't
if you,
a deer.
Like, you know, he said Dennis and Jim didn't want to eat the bear. Like, they try a little bit. Grandpa... he shot this bear back in the day, like I think Sparpanni's guy, or what was it? But either way, this group, Grandpa was a good shot apparently.
Oh yeah.
And so they seen this bear out in the this area.
It was on. They'd go up on a bluff, and it was down in this marsh.
And they had seen
and 2 cubs,
and they wanted this bear, and so they went and got Grandpa to go shoot it for him. So Grandpa did, and probably violated it again. But anyways, shot the bear. He got some of the meat out of it or whatever else. And he made dinner for his or your.
Would have been Herb and my grandma.
Yeah, so Herb was your step grandfather.
My step grandfather.
Original grandfather, our original great grandfather on that side actually died because he got kicked by a workhorse, like those big ones, like Clydesdale size. He didn't die like immediately. I think it was like 3 years after, but like complicated. Like he got.
That's great grandfather.
Yes.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah. See,
your mom's grandfather.
Wow.
So, anyways,
and he, my mom, because she was the oldest of the girls, she had to plow the fields by the farm there with horses.
Okay.
She did 1 year. Or she did something out field work out there, and the neighbors all got together and would cut firewood for them. For the winter.
That's great. That's good community.
But anyways, this bear.
Where did he get kicked? Sorry, just like
I don't
where
know.
He got kicked? Was it like in?
No idea. I just know he got kicked by a horse.
That's
probably.
But again,
But
again, it's just family stories. Family stories are always interesting. So, anyways, he got our step great grandfather was over, and Grandpa I think got along with him really good.
Oh, they did. They hunted together all the time.
But Grandpa decided to have a little fun with him. He made bear for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell anyone it was bear. So he waited, he sat there, and Herb is going, oh, this is great! You know, this is the best, you know, like just loving the meal. And halfway through the meal, Grandpa goes, you know that meat? He goes, yeah. Oh, that's bear. And he goes, oh, it's really good. Didn't touch another bite the rest of the meal after that.
That's so funny. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I think it's just like eating. It's like we're used to. I think it's eating something that eats other
Dennis
animals. Seems a little odd.
Dennis has Herb's gun.
He does? I would like to see that.
Yeah. Well, you did. I mean, he just.
I've never seen it.
Well, I happened to have the 33 up because Joe Sade come over. You know, the 33 Winchester.
I would like.
That was my dad's first gun. But Herb's gun, when Herb was dying of cancer, they had an auction up at the house up there, and he wanted my dad, because they hunted together, to buy his gun. So my dad bought that. It's a Model 64.
Oh, that's that one. Oh, that's a nice gun. It's
a long-barreled 30-30.
Yeah, it looks like that,
Okay.
but you see where the bottom tube is on there? It looks like the barrel. The barrel's like about this much longer.
Oh, okay.
That is a nice gun. I would love to have that.
And but anyways, you know, I got the 33, so I can't complain. But when my dad died and come up for a funeral, Dennis went up and took that gun back.
How should I say? It is fair because he probably would have took.
He would have took the 33.
Yeah, so you know, it's one of those. I mean, either.
Yeah. I mean, he hunted with my dad longer than I did. So,
I mean, you're
he
both
had
his sons. You both deserve a gun from.
And if Joe Sade wouldn't have, you know, come, because he had a model, that 33 Winchester, 18, I forget what year it is. I brought it up to my house just because we were comparing guns, you know. And I never brought it back. I just put it in my gun rack. Otherwise, that would have been probably gone too.
see, and that would be unfair because I mean, you should have each got one because you were the only two sons that liked hunting.
We're the only ones that hunted.
Yeah, Todd and John didn't care.
They
So
could
no,
care
you
less
two
about
both each deserved a gun. It's just
Picture John hunting. He's so nice. He's like my mom.
Yeah.
Or she's like him.
Yeah, your mom.
You heard about my dad once when you was lazy and didn't want to butcher or he didn't want to gut a deer, so he
I
got
paid
your
her
mom
$20.
to it.
She was going. I did it as a joke.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful opening morning. Just beautiful, and I sitting down right where you guys are going to be. And his, I don't know what it was, 5-pointer, 6-pointer or something, little one. It wasn't big. Walks out, and I drop it this gorgeous morning. And this is before gutting gloves.
See that right there is the
sure.
reason why I don't want to shoot things at times.
This is
work.
I
before
pay your mom
gutting
$20
gloves,
to
so
gut deer.
everything was barehanded back then. I thought people that used those were wimps until I used them once. And anyways,
You
so I
learn.
thought before I got it, I had all day. I said I'm gonna go home and have a cup of coffee. You know, and talk to my dad. You know, just let him know I got something. And so I walked home, and your sister or your mom gets up, and she comes down. She got just getting up, and she comes down and just out of jest, I said, "Dan, you want to make $20?" And she said, "What?" "Got a deer." And she says, "Sure." I got pictures. I got slides. I went down.
Oh, I need to see that.
That would be great.
I got slides of her, and she's blood up here, and and all the while she's doing. Look at this. This is cool.
You can
she's
tell she was
holding
gonna be
the
a nurse.
organs.
Just
Yeah. How old was she?
She was going to college, so she would have been 19, 20.
Wow, I can't even imagine.
And
doing
she,
that now.
and she gutted that thing right out.
Wow.
And I gave her $20.
The perfect opening day.
That actually, honestly, hey, text your mom and tell her if I shoot a deer, I'll give her 20. Heck, I'll give her $40 for the inflation.
I was just gonna say inflation.
Due to inflation, but if she'll gut my deer for $40, I will. Heck,
I'll gut your deal for $40.
Yeah, same man.
well, how about this? 20 for each of you, or I'd either have to do 20 for each of you, or
It takes
actually,
about 40?
I'll shoot 2 deer, and that way you can make $40.
How about 40 total, and then you and me have to wrestle for the money.
Oh, deal. If as long as I have that on video of you wrestling for the money.
I'm gonna
No,
break
I
your
don't-
other
Yes,
rib.
deal.
Yeah, I learned my lesson from last time.
No.
Yeah, no wrestling.
I was hurting for months.
All I can say is $40, but both of you, and you wrestle for the money. Deal. It's heck. I will give you 60.
Ooh,
Yeah, we're doing it.
stove must be
$60
putting out heat now.
You were hurt for months.
See, this is why it's not going to happen, and
Just
I'm going to have to deal with it.
So we're at the family reunion. You
Don't
were,
wrestle.
you were buzzed up. You were feeling good. You were like, hey,
Let's go.
come on. And I never get to wrestle, so I was like, oh, absolutely. Like, this will be fun. And I just remember, we messed around for a little bit. And then I just remember, you just pancaked straight down, and I came right down on top of you. And, I landed on you.
Yeah.
But even in the moment, you were like, oh, but you got up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the adrenaline kicked in or something, but like that night, so I knew I was hurt, but I didn't know I was like hurt that bad. And I went to bed, and then I got up at some point in the middle
like
of
to
the
see
night.
them wrestle for $60 after for
I got to
for
set
the
up at
privilege
some
of
point
the
in the
money
middle
of
of the
getting my
night to
beer.
go to the
Come on.
bathroom, and I couldn't get
This
out of
would
bed.
be worth $6. Heck, you should throw $60
I was, like,
in on this too.
crying.
This would be worth it.
And Gina had to get out of bed to like get me out of.
Yes, but we'll have it on video
bed.
so we can watch this for
That's
the rest
crazy.
of our lives.
I went and got an X-ray
I can
done and
imagine
everything.
it.
That's right.
Why would you want to imagine this? Because the other rule is they can't have washed their arms, so they got to be covered in blood the whole time.
You can just have the money. I'm not wrestling.
No.
That's no
I think I
fun.
need $60. What am I?
Boy, that thing's... No.
I'll take it.
Yeah, shut up. You'll
Well, $60 if you wrestle for it, covered in blood.
I'm game.
Otherwise, it's less.
There's got to be a fetish for that for somewhere. Blood wrestling.
I've done this
Honestly, though,
countless times.
I will say if you guys aren't splitting it or whatever, it'll have to be $30. But I would pay $30 to have someone gut my deer.
My fee's at least 150.
Yeah. Are you out?
No, I gotta pee.
Oh.
Not too much.
It's kind of fun though too, Jeff, just letting you gut it, and if I'm there to
Beer
watch,
runs.
because that's entertaining for me.
Oh, that is. Like, I don't gag
Yeah, 'cause
here.
you gut gag.
I know I used to. It'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, the first time I ever gutted a deer, my dad was out hunting with friends actually, and I was down there actually. I had shot a doe, and like where
flashlight
you're
in
sitting
there?
again, because almost every deer our family
No,
kills
you can use mine
is
if you
over
need
there,
to.
and
Well,
I needed some help, so I went and got my mom, and
Oh, wow.
we had a lantern going. And she was sitting there holding the legs, and it took me 45 minutes because I couldn't stop gagging so much. So she was holding the legs on this. My mom. You know,
Yeah.
this is not the lady you would think that would be out there for this. But because she loves me, she was out there holding the legs on this deer as I was gagging for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, gutting.
I still got to learn what Jeremy does, though. He does that Gutless Method. I watched him do it once.
He doesn't drag a deer out. He cuts all the meat off of it, cuts the antlers off, and walks out like he's got a special pack. He puts all the meat in.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
And
well,
walks
the
up.
one deer we did shoot, he skinned it up, but it was in the middle of the field, so he threw this like body that had no meat on it in the back of his vehicle.
He just
Like-
does it right out there.
Yeah, and just went and dumped it in the woods or whatever. No, honestly, watching a surgeon cut up a deer is.
That's
You know,
true.
it is. It's like I was actually very interested to see how well he cut. Just because I heard he was. My dad said he had never seen meat so clean after there was no need to wash it or anything. Like to get the
Wow.
hair off or whatever else. He just. So actually, what I really need to do is learn.
butcher.
I need to look. I don't remember how to do it, and I should go watch a lot on YouTube. Let's learn the Gutless Method because it's just so much simpler. Instead of having to work, all you do is have a plastic that bin up there. You just have that sitting there. You just toss the meat in it,
Oh.
and it's one of those. It's like instead of having to haul the whole deer out, you just put the meat in, and throw the meat. You can just set the meat in wherever, and you're good to go.
Yeah, Jeremy says once he kills a deer and walks up to it, it takes him 45 minutes to completely get all the meat off of it and cut off the antlers and be heading back.
How much?
45 minutes.
He's very efficient.
Impressive.
I would think he was faster than that.
I think he's being careful so he doesn't get hair, and he's also just working on.
Well, he's
The way he does it there.
yeah.
He's being careful, and he's also
Well, especially if it's a handler, so that would take a little bit too.
The one he did, he took off the whole, he figured out how to dismantle the top of the skull from the bottom of the skull and like got all that and took that out to do a European mount because you don't need the bottom half of the
Right.
skull, you just use the top half.
See, well, that would also.
You know, if you want to do that Gutless Method, it's right there in that book.
I'm gonna have
the
to,
right. It
but
tells
they,
you
they,
how to
have,
do
they
it.
have it on YouTube. I'm gonna need to watch it.
Half the fun those brings in your back
It
here
is.
and hanging it up in the tree.
It is.
There is some fun to that.
Get to admire it for a day before you cut it up.
Yeah. No. Oh, if you
See, I'm gonna pay someone
Eric,
still.
if you
I enjoy doing it, but
I
gonna
don't.
butcher probably if you get one on there.
oh yeah, for sure.
Just when you cut, instead of use one of these, you know, when you're cutting the meat.
Oh, instead of on the
Instead of on
plywood?
on the table there,
Yeah.
I don't care about laying the deer on
Yeah,
it or
that's fine.
anything like that.
That's
It's just that
For sure.
because I got a couple of them. If you both of them, you know, I
Yep.
don't care about this one. These here because these are washed, but this
Yeah.
one I don't want to use.
Yeah,
like
we'll
that.
we'll be butchering it out here.
Yeah,
Unless
I
there's
can
a
see
weather
why it'd be
concern or
fun to
something.
do it there. You know.
Well, Trevor and I have a lot of fun. I
I
think
know.
that's the thing I like recently about hunting with him is like it's not like we do everything together from
Yeah.
hunting to
See, that would be
shooting to gutting to you know like everything we do together.
See, like now, like the last year I did, it was fun cutting up a deer with him. I don't particularly like cutting up deer. I don't. It's not something I like doing. I like shooting things. I don't like.
we know.
It's
But-
part of
we do, but I don't like cutting up. It's just like I don't know. I don't like getting dirty. Like I would rather stay
It's
clean.
part of the experience.
But
Yeah, that's when I shot my first doe. That's exactly.
It's part of the experience, you know. It just if you just shoot it and then bring it in, and I don't know.
You know, in a way,
Besides, I'm
Trevor's
cheap.
Trevor's first deer 2 years ago. That was a good like first experience.
Oh
Heck
my
of a first
gosh.
It was a chase. It was like
Oh, that
a
was
gut
happy
shot.
fight. Yeah, it was
that
bad,
thing
but-
ran what, half a
I
mile?
held the light. That was the
uphill the
worst
whole
one
way?
that you could have had because you gut shot it.
yeah,
All I-
yeah, I know.
And then you had, and when you did that, I can't believe it crossed a stream twice.
They don't
Well,
believe.
Yeah.
we were morons because it was right before dark. We take off after this doe with nothing. No flashlights.
Left everything.
No flashlights. No knives. No, I had a knife. I had a knife and that's it. No gun. Like we left everything in the blind and we just took off after the deer. Stupid. Because I didn't think we
yeah.
expected to go that far.
If-
And then we get so deep
But
in.
just sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But if we hadn't done that, I don't think we ever would have found her because we lost that blood trail how many times?
Yep.
And it was
Yep.
getting dark.
It took a while.
And we followed
Yeah.
her. We followed the blood trail for a long
Yep.
time because we lost it a few
Yeah.
times. And then if there was a few times where we completely lost it. We just did a whole like perimeter. And we
Yep.
found it again.
yeah, you have
Yeah, well,
to-
you jumped her.
Yeah.
do. You
If
guys
jumped
did
her-
a good job.
Yes. Well, if we didn't initially chase after her, I don't think we would have ever found her
Yeah.
because she ran so far.
Yeah.
All I know is that deer was huge, and it was exhausting. I mean, I helped drag that thing out, and that was exhausting. I can't believe it hit the spot in the stream where there's like an island going on. So it crossed it crossed the stream twice.
Did. But please go on.
But
sorry.
it was funny because, like, I remember Trevor, you saying that, like, at one point, I think it was either when we jumped or right before that, like, I asked you if you had your knife on you, and you're like, yeah, why? And I'm like, because if we come up and it's injured, like, you might have to slit his throat, and you're like, oh my gosh.
You were like, I'm gonna make you kill this deer. Well, and I had you just had your pocket knife, and it was a knife like this big. I was like, I'm gonna have to like
No, you keep
Brazilian
shooting again.
jiu-jitsu this deer, and
don't-
like
no.
we had no
You can.
We had no gun.
No.
we had nothing. At least
Don't
if we
mess
had the
around,
handgun.
shoot it again.
No,
Yeah.
I know. There's
But we-
that's
yeah, we-
always the
you
rule.
can
You
do
always
that.
shoot again.
Yeah, it's
But
funny.
I mean, if you got daylight and you're not sure of a hit, unless it's a neck shot, if you aim at the neck, then you better get up there quick. And because neck shots, I don't like neck shot because I've shot at least 3 deer and they poof, they drop like a rock. And you think they're, and then all of a sudden because if you don't hit the bone, it just shocks them, and then they want to get up and run. But I mean, if it's a neck shot, get down there immediately. But if it's a body shot, then you got time. You know, and you think you might have made a bad hit. You know, if you know you hit it in the right spot, but it don't matter. But then it's better to wait an hour at least.
It's
if you
so
have
hard to
time.
do, though.
I
It's
know.
so hard, especially when it's
Because
a buck.
what they do is, you know, they're hurt.
Yeah.
They all they want to do is go lay down
Yeah,
somewhere.
sure.
But once you start chasing them, then the adrenaline gets going, and they can.
And
they
things
can
want
go.
to live.
yes, hopefully the ones we get this year just drop
Yeah.
and they just
Well,
drop right there.
even a perfect shot through the ribs,
Yeah, they're gonna run.
they're going to run.
It depends on the deer.
Almost
Almost.
always.
you ever just
My
drop one
first
right
year,
there?
You have to hit.
Yes,
the only
actually,
way
my first year, I was
a spine
so-
shot. Only if you hit a spine, or if you hit them right through the shoulder.
See
Does
that?
it kill it if you shoot it, spine it?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Does
that
it paralyze?
you're shooting at. Well, yeah, it can only paralyze them too.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're only shooting at something this big.
Mm-hmm.
The best place is right behind the front shoulder, mid body. I mean, the heart is a little bit low, but the lungs, you're not. If you go right behind that front
I've
shoulder.
always aimed at the.
But then also, you got to take into consideration if the deer is facing you somewhat.
So there's.
Then,
So
I
then
mean,
you
I
have
had
an
to shoot
angle,
one. I
'cause, like,
ended
the
up
way the
shooting
bullet
in
goes.
front of the shoulder.
So, like, even up and down
you
will
gotta
do the same thing.
always try to angle
So
the
like
bullet.
if you know like the deer's like through, you know, and it's an angle, you may
can't
want to shoot
pretend
at the
you
back
can't
and
aim
up
behind the
at
shoulder
bottom is 'cause
if the
it'll go
deer
up
is
or
kind
up
of
at the
facing
top,
you.
it's
You
gonna
got to
go
aim
down.
farther forward then.
Sure.
Because you got to
But-
angle the bullet through the chest. is
I
what
will
you
say
gotta
I
do.
have never had a problem where like I just with my 243 I just go right on the shoulder. Like if it's a broadside shot, right on the shoulder. You ruin a little meat,
Yeah.
but like actually where you say whether or not they run, for one I like it because it's an aiming point. It makes it easier like to shoot. It, like if you have a spot to focus on, it's a little easier to aim. But like I had a like if you were sitting in that brush pile, like right across the trail, like on over to your right, my first spike, like the first year I shot my first spike, and it came in, and I seen the deer going up, and I like this, I'm like, poof, right in the shoulder. The thing went whoop, flipped right over. I think its antlers from the ground. It was dead right there.
Well,
But
the
you know,
first one you shot ran,
no,
or was that the second?
the second one. The second
okay.
one I shot was. Look and say this is the post you're facing forward. It was.
It ran way to the left.
It was kind of like about here, and it went whoomp, right about up here. It didn't go down. It didn't go down by the stream or anything. But no, that one ran about 70 yards. I was like, because I was used to my deer. Like my first one, it just went boom, down. But no, almost every deer I've shot straight in the shoulders just go. It goes down.
See, this one was facing me at a slight angle, and I shot it in front of the shoulder. You know, I mean, right below the neck at the angle. You know, I could see what, and it went in right there. Didn't ruin the meat. Then it came out. You know, it came out like this back in here. You know, and so it all depends on how they're. Because sometimes you're lucky and they're just sideways. But
Most of my
sometimes-
deer have been. I won't lie.
Yeah.
But
I feel if they do that, like that signature jump, you know, where they you know, that's always a really good sign.
That's a good sign.
It's, when you when it's almost like somebody came up behind them and went boo, like they jump up and they do this like kick thing. Like if they just take off right away, it's hard to know. Like
Yeah.
you know, but if they do that jump, like they've been hit hard, and they'll run, but they'll drop not too far away.
A lot of times
Gotcha.
that's a heart shot then when they do that. But yeah.
then they run on pure adrenaline for a little bit. But or they might. But no, they're.
Well, I mean, you can. I mean, I've shot a lot of, especially my 270 with the. I changed bullets now, but all I would do is punch a hole through it.
I think your new round
It
will
didn't-
do very well.
I did. I only shot one deer with it. But
Those fusions work very well.
I mean, I've had him run. I bet you. Oh man, that one doe. She was on hillside this way, and I bet she ran at least 75 yards or more.
That was my second deer. I was like,
How far did mine run?
about half a mile.
Yeah.
All of mine, every single deer that I've shot has run just a little tiny bit. Like
Even that one big buck?
that's not a big buck, but
No, the one that I came down there and it was looking at you. You're like, what did I do? I was like, shoot it again.
that's that one.
Okay.
The 6-point, that was my first buck. That one dropped right away, but then he tried to get back up again.
Yeah.
And I was an idiot and didn't know what to do. But
You always shoot again.
Actually,
Yeah.
I called up to the
It's
house.
so silly you didn't know what to
I know.
do.
It was,
Well, but if you don't
But
do
you were
but if
just-
but
and
the
I was
thing
on so much emotion at that point,
For
you know,
sure.
such as high. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I knew he was here, but he was trying to get back up again. So I called up at the house, and Jean picked up, my wife, and she's like, I'm like, is your dad there? And she's like, no. She's like, why? I'm like, I shot a deer, but it's trying to get up again. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, shoot it again. And I'm like,
Sitting there.
I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Okay, bye. And
Yeah,
I
I
shot
lost your
it.
shot.
I shot it again, same spot. Like I aimed at the same spot, shot again, boom, down he goes again, and then starts getting back up again. And I'm like, I don't know. At this point, Kim's walking up behind me.
I thought I was with you at this.
But you were too. You came up behind your dad, but he came first, I think, with the 4-wheeler, and then you were walking behind him or something because I think you had your blind over here, and you know you came over the hill and he's like, I heard shots. You get one? I'm like, yeah, it's right there, but it's trying to get it back up again. He's like, and then Jeff came behind him, and Jeff's like, let me do it. And Kim's like, Jeff, it's his first year. You're not shooting this deer. and so Kim's like, lean up against the trees, like aim for the neck, and I did that, and that was it. Yeah. But that was my first year.
Like shooting at things.
This one, the year after, I hit him on the run.
Those are both yours?
Yep, those are both mine.
Oh, nice.
That one, he was on the run. He came out from the swamp, and he was running full tilt. And I, got on my knee, and I was going like this and following, and I just, led the shot, and I shot it, and he did the pick, and ran up over the hill.
You shot him on the run?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he was full out running.
That's really good.
And he went up on the hill.
I'm proud of you.
And actually, I didn't even go after him. I came back here, because Jeff was here, and he was sleeping. And
I think I was on nights.
And
so I had trouble staying
I woke
awake.
up Jeff, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, I got one. I'm like, you want to help me go find him? He's like,
There's a shell.
Yeah, so
Shot it with.
oh yeah. So Jeff came out with me, and
303.
is that from that one that fell off?
The first one.
Oh, the first one.
That's your first. That Norma. That was with your grandfather.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's a 308 Norma or something.
Yep, 308 Norma Magnum.
Look at the size of that. Look at the size of
The exit hole was like that.
What?
It blows the backside of those deer. Those 308.
You still got that gun?
No, I gave it back to my dad.
No.
Because I couldn't get ammo for it.
Right.
I couldn't find anybody even to reload it.
That big?
You know where you could have got it? Because I got the for that 33 Winchester. I got 2 boxes. Black Hills. Ammo.
Well, I found that.
You found it for
Yeah,
me.
but still,
And
you know what?
they'll load anything.
Hey,
for you.
guess how much 2 boxes cost? First, a box is 20 rounds, $170 with shipping, or no, after shipping.
It was $80 a box.
Yeah.
Because again, it's an obsolete caliber, or obsolete means they don't
They
make it
take
anymore.
4570 and
No, I've actually I'm looking at getting and reloading that 308 Norma. We could load for that if you wanted.
Well, I can get it's not like I can't get the gun back.
I'm just saying
My dad's got
if
it.
you're interested in that, because I'm eventually wanting to reload. So
here's the one that Jeff blew my ears out.
that was one of the most fun deer I've ever shot.
Oh, that was here.
Yeah. So anyways, I had my AR pistol.
Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
when I
so
shot
anyways,
my deer.
we
Yeah,
went out
yeah.
there. It's he had just got back, and it was getting to just go hunting in the evening. And we walk out, and it's like, come on, Dad, just go hunting with me. Because you guys were out. It's like, we'll just go out for a couple minutes, And he's like, fine, because he was all done. So anyways, we walk out, and no sooner we get out there, I go, I see a deer. Broadside, I go, deer. Just
And
fast
he
as I
said, "There's a
possibly
deer."
could.
So I was on the porch there, and I leaned around to look at the deer. So my head was
Just took the
right.
brunt of it.
I literally.
That gun.
I lost 3/4 of my hearing, just gone. Literally.
Boom.
Did it come
she
back
ran a
completely?
little bit,
Came
went down.
back.
Yeah, okay.
She
I
ran
don't
a
know
little
if they
bit,
probably all didn't come back.
She
Yeah,
ran
yeah.
a little bit, went down, and he's going,
Literally, just
He's
just
going,
like that. My
we
hearing
get up
was
there,
gone.
and because I had adrenaline going, so it did affect my hearing at the time.
Yeah.
Then he just
Well, Trevor did that to me.
complaining
I
so
was
much.
Was that the first year?
Oh, it
or
was so
Yeah.
funny.
last year?
Oh, I wasn't
First
funny.
year.
I was afraid. I have my ears aren't that good already.
Now it was really funny. I understand it was uncomfortable
Yeah.
for you,
And that's exactly
I'm
what
glad you're
happened.
hearing.
That's exactly what happened when I shot my deer. He was like, "Let me know when you're gonna." Because
I had my fingers like this far from my ear.
he's going like this.
I was like this. Let me know when you're gonna.
And,
Oh
well,
my
him,
God.
that was a normal rifle. I mean, the 30-30 is a little short.
Yeah.
His is a little barrel like this. It was
Yeah.
like being next to a pistol.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
thing is loud.
Gosh,
Yeah,
that thing
I
I
is
thought of
loud.
actually getting a suppressor for it just to make it so it's a little more comfortable.
I was afraid that was. I thought.
No, I
that
had
was-
that happen the first time I shot that Glock. I got off my partner at work, and I went and shot 10
This
rounds
is
without
so-
hearing protection, and I was like, all of a sudden my ears going ow, and everything's
sewing kit?
ringing. I hadn't had
That's
my
not a
ear
sewing kit.
something like that.
That's a snuff can back. I had that ever since.
No,
I
I
was a
will
kid.
say that
Oh,
was
wow.
probably, besides my first
think
year,
it's
that was
something else.
probably the most enjoyable hunt I ever had. Just walk out the door here, oh dear,
Sweet Owen. Fine
just
cut.
because of the whole
Oh, yeah.
totality of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Him going like,
I bet
it
you they
was
don't
so
do it.
funny.
He made a good hit. I'll say right perfect.
Oh, that gun, it points good. I just re-zeroed it. It's good for out to 300 now. But not that I'd ever shoot that far. But no, I will say I like that gun. It's just a fun. That little gun actually is what got me back into hunting. It was only because I was curious how effective it would be for shooting deer. So I
Tell you what,
but-
if somebody wanted that, there's a major run coming right where you shot that doe. Comes out of Japan years, if you sit in that tree stand.
Which doe were you talking? Oh, that one, that first one I did.
That one you shot out of the tree stand.
Yeah. Again,
There's a major run coming through. There are a couple rubs around in the area.
I might try that later on, but right
What about
now,
the tree stand you put back up down in the swamp there by your house?
I've never checked that one out.
I thought you set that up this year.
tomorrow's gonna be
That
nasty.
That metal
I'm gonna
one.
be in my
When I
pop-up.
got from Al Miner.
No, that was. I will say that
It's
was
set up where
just having
Shove
him
from your
there.
house,
His
the metal
reaction,
tray.
getting
That's
the
been there
deer,
for
just
years, so.
like
Oh, has
the
it?
shot
Yeah,
was
that's been
so
there for
like
at least
I don't
10
even
years.
remember
Ever
like
since
going
I
out to
took it
looking
from where-
shooting. It was just like
Remember
deer.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
had it up
gun hit
there
my
and
cheek.
you weren't using it. And
As soon as the gun hit my cheek, I just fired, and it was just like
I put it in
boom.
there.
I was like,
I sat there.
and then
I
it's like,
can't
did I
see
get it? And I
those.
thought I
I'm
missed.
too-
Got
I
up there, and
can't
all of a
get
sudden we go a little bit.
comfortable in
Oh, there's some blood. I did it.
And I'm too stiff to
Darn it,
twist.
because
I
then
did
you had
see
just
a
had
decent
yours where
buck
it
there,
ran
but
like
come
half a
right
mile. I was
out.
like, darn it. I was thinking I
And
had
it
the same
walked
gauge.
straight away
Yeah.
from
Get up
me,
there,
and it was,
30 yards.
There was no
It's
way
like,
I could get a shot.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh,
that's been there
that
for
was
a
a
long
fun day.
When the kids
was
and
a
I
fun day.
walked down there, when the snow gets
Tell
a
you
crust
what.
on, they always like to climb up there,
Yeah.
especially Lily.
Yeah. Well, that was in the same spot that I had it that one year before we moved it up here. Because that was the year I shot that doe.
Oh, you had it down.
Yeah, in pretty much exact same spot you
Oh,
have.
okay.
I shot that doe. That was the first year that Jeff's Aaron started coming around. 'Cause
Yeah.
That was one when she came up when
Oh,
we
yeah.
gutted it.
Oh yeah, that was
Because I shot
that
it.
was my
shot
that
it
was
out
my
of the
most
tree stand?
eventful
I
hunting
shot that out of the tree
season.
stand, and
I
then
didn't
it
shoot a
ran
deer,
up
but I got
the hill.
I got a wife out
and died
of
right in
it.
the thick brush. You know, it was all thick. There was
right
a
there.
trail
She
that went up
said
to
to
that
be my
apple tree
girlfriend,
up
yeah.
on top.
Nice.
It
And
got up pretty much right below the
I was
apple tree, but
pestering
it went
her
into the
into
brush
it,
yeah.
and died.
And then
So
I
had to
did the
crawl
most
in the brush
romantic thing in the
pull it out.
world.
Yeah.
We walked her out to her car, got in the
Well, I'll
car.
tell you what, that
I was going to
mark-
kiss her, and then I said,
You know, the last how many
And then
years
I- and then I said the most
6-7
romantic
years,
words
we had
ever.
so much rain.
Yeah,
ah,
it's over.
screw
That,
it.
that
And I
marsh
gave her a
used
kiss,
to
and she
be
goes,
where
"That is
it would dry up
Yeah.
towards fall.
and though
You
she
walk
liked it, she
across
was like, that is not
I mean, you
that is
can't
not our
walk
first
out.
kiss.
Deer don't even
she
Well,
just
I'm
did
sure we
not
find
like
somewhere to go through, but
Yeah. Well, it used to be good bird hunting back there.
Yeah.
And then it got real thick. You can't see anything anymore.
yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Is there more hot water in there?
Probably.
I'll take one more thing of tea then. We'll say drinking decaf tea is nowhere near as disappointing as drinking decaf coffee.
Yeah, I got it. I want to get up.
I will say drinking decaf coffee is like drinking like disappointment in the cup.
I never drink decaf, so I wouldn't know.
It's kind of the same thing of like, you know, you do it for the caffeine, right? And caffeine's a drug.
You know what? It needs to warm up a little.
It's like
I'm gonna see how
people
well this
drinking
works.
a beer without
I'm gonna just
alcohol
sit
in
my
it.
cup on there.
I had 3 non-alcoholic
I
beers
cracked
last
the
night.
cup once
Yeah.
doing that.
I went out. I actually went out.
If
yeah.
I do, I'll
with some
replace
people
it.
last
It
night,
might have been.
Oh, did you?
which was really nice.
There's a
I've
chip
been
on
out
that one.
forever.
It
Okay.
might have been.
Where'd you go?
Soul Blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been
Nice.
too hot or something. Yeah, I wouldn't do that
I'll put
too
it up
much
on the front.
because
It's the water and it's pretty cool. I mean, they used to cook in birch bark.
one of my
long
favorite
as it was
cups I
water.
set on there once with water. I thought, well, I'll just heat it up on here and it
I don't think this
That's
one's
the one we dig up every year. Kids and I buried
Oh.
it. We had a funeral. I mean, they were little.
You had a funeral for a
We-
mug?
it was my favorite mug. And Lily and Jack, I'm always looking for things to
Get them outside.
get them. And so we went back there, and I said prayers over it, and we literally had a funeral. And I finally.
I did not. You were never this creative with me when I was a kid.
Well, if you read the book,
I feel disappointed
read the book
now
up
in
there,
my
it's all in there.
childhood.
But every year now, we dig it up and look at it.
I am disappointed in my childhood now. You have gotten much more creative as a grandfather.
Yeah. So no,
No complaints as a child, as my childhood whatsoever.
I
but
thank God for that cup, and we had a regular funeral. And even with little still every year in the spring, as soon as I don't know, I usually say, "Wow, let's wait a while." Next time we'll wait until Joanna wasn't there for the funeral, so it won't mean anything to her. But they remember that. Every year we got to dig that cup up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it'll be okay.
And you got to bury them upside down. So otherwise it collects water and it'll crack them more. The only thing is all the porcelain is checking now. But it's still together.
Well, if this one breaks, I will buy you a new mug for here.
I don't like new mugs. I like old mugs.
Oh, go to St. Vinny's.
I do. We go through. That's where a lot of these came from.
Why don't you like new mugs?
They're not interesting.
No, I like interesting. We find interesting.
Yeah, Gene's getting into that too. Collecting like these eclectic mugs and all sorts of
It's
different
like people
shapes.
don't like coffee. Like there's
She's turning into me. I hate to tell you.
seeing how well you two get along right here, I think that's probably a fair, not a problem.
Jeff, you want to throw a log in the fire?
I'm sweating up a
are you?
storm right now.
All right.
Forget that.
I just didn't want it to go like completely down.
When I walk by there, that stove
That's okay.
felt hot.
It's okay. All you do is complain. It's really annoying.
Said like 2 words.
For like 2 hours.
Yeah. You talk too much.
Hey, haven't you let somebody else speak for once, Sarah?
How much time has it been?
Hour and 35 minutes.
No.
I'm doing just fine on my own.
I still think it would be, you'd probably, at least for Dickinson County, like where you was talking that old book he has, if you went through and did one article from that book the whole way through of like the history of Dickinson County and just read the stories and did a commentary on it, Dickinson County would be interested in that.
Well, this book I have.
No, I know the red black.
Yeah, that Dickinson County sold that. They're the ones that compiled the information, and I bought them.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it would be interesting, like where he is recording now, to sit there, go through and just do a short video of reading the story, and then make a commentary, make a short commentary. Some of them would be kind of boring. And then you get the one where they're working in the mines and someone got blown up, and then you talk about it and how they had an explosive end.
That goes back
or
to
something.
The first white men that came here.
No, I am.
And with the native, the Indians and all that. And Indians were migratory.
Mm-hmm.
They would, the ones in the UP, they would go as far as way up Copper Country along Lake Superior. But by the time winter was coming, they wintered in Menominee County. All the big cedar swamps. There are a lot of cover and a lot of deer.
That makes sense. No, I'm just saying it would be an interesting little local podcast.
Well, you know what my brother's doing right now, I got excited about this, was that my cousin Chris, when my grandpa Wilson saw the crazy stories and hunting and all that stuff, when they found out that my grandpa had cancer, my cousin Chris took a video camera and spent a week at my grandpa's house, having him sit in his chair, and he just videotaped him telling all these stories. And he's got all these VHS tapes. I've never seen them. But my brother got a hold of Chris just this past week, and Chris is sending him all the VHS tapes, and Jeremy's bringing them to one of those places that
redo them.
Yeah, making the DVDs or Blu-rays.
Visualize it.
Yeah, and then
he's
doing that with
that.
the Buck Levasseur episode, and
cool.
Yeah, I remember him on there.
I think my new favorite Darwin story is the chipmunk one. I think you guys told me. Didn't he he built a maze for chipmunks for the kids because he thought it'd be fun to watch chipmunks just run through a maze or whatever. Caught a bunch of chipmunks and and apparently chipmunks are very highly territorial, highly.
Yeah.
And he thought they would just run through the maze. No, it turned into a gladiatorial bloodbath. Just these chipmunks.
Well, he made this big box and he made a maze inside of it, and then he had a big, huge piece of plexiglass. So they were going to dump all the chipmunks into the box with the maze and put the lid on it. So he said they put this plexiglass lid on it, and all his daughters, which were younger, they were going to watch the chipmunks run around in the maze. As soon as he put the lid on it, after he dumped those things, they just went at each other and tore each other apart, and the girls are just screaming.
Oh my god.
I think it was so innocent and so crazy. crazy.
How many chipmunks do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Probably was only a couple, but
There's so
still.
many things like that though, like him terrorizing children. Anyways, you know, like he had that one story about how he brought over a deer for my Uncle Wayne, and he had 2 young daughters, and so my grandpa went to his house. He lives right downtown Iron Mountain. So my grandpa went to his house, unloaded this deer, and hung it up in his garage. And my grandpa's just about to leave, and he looks at his watch, and he's like, "Oh, the girls are going to be getting off the bus any minute." So he looked up in the garage, and he saw some red paint, and he took the red paint down, and he painted the deer's nose red. So the girls got off the bus, and he goes, "Look at girls, Grandpa shot Rudolph."
I think I would have been good friends with your grandfather if we were at the same age. That's almost actually our uncle Dennis. You know, like he had a live trap, and they had rabbits out in their yard.
Yeah.
And right before Easter, he trapped a rabbit.
Yeah.
Told the kids it was the Easter bunny and that they were gonna eat them.
Yeah.
And I guess he had like Christine, Jim, and all the other, you know, and so on, just in tears. Like,
Oh my god.
I think the greatest one, though, the one that I get the biggest kick out of, is when one of my grandpa's other daughters, when she grew up and had kids, and my grandpa was a grandpa, his daughter, my aunt, you know, and her husband were going out of town, and she wanted my grandpa to come over and babysit the boys for the weekend. And so he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come over," and she wanted him to stay at the house there with him. She has a dog, so she wanted him to watch the dog and stuff too. So it was like a school day or something. My grandpa went over to the house early to take care of the dog and stuff, and my grandpa started cooking up all this food, because my grandpa likes to cook, but he wasn't very good at it. So he's making all this food all day long, and he's feeding the dog the scraps, you know, all day from all this food that he's cooking. Well, the boys get home from school, they get off the school bus and come in and see everything that my grandpa's cooking. They're like, "No, thank you." And at this point, they looked down, and the dog had crapped all over itself. I mean, it was all in its hair, like everywhere, like just terrible, like diarrhea, runny stuff all over in the dog's hair. So my grandpa's like, "All right." He's like, "I'll throw in a pizza for you guys in the oven. We'll just grab a frozen pizza, put in the oven." He's like, "I'll cut the worst of the stuff out of the dog's hair, and you guys go upstairs, get the dog washed up, and we'll go from there." So my grandpa cut the worst out of the dog's hair. Boys take the dog up and throw it in the bathtub. Come back downstairs, and the boys are starving. They're like, the pizza's on the table, it's all cut up, and they start rifling at this pizza, and they get halfway through the pizza, and one of the boys looks down at the counter and sees a pair of kitchen shears with dog crap and pizza sauce on it. That was my grandpa. He thought nothing of that kind of stuff.
That's
like,
crazy.
You know what Doc Hayes told me?
What's that?
Because I had because of COVID, I had a, what do you call it, over the telephone appointment, checkup.
Yeah.
You know, I had one scheduled, and then they made it over the phone. But he says, we got talking, and he says, you got to eat stuff with dirt on. When
you have an immune system.
He says people that eat too clean of food all the time have terrible immune systems. Yeah. And he says, pull up carrots and just brush them off on your pants, or apples, which I've always done mostly, and carrots when I grew them and all that. And just find them out in the woods, just wipe them off and you eat them. And he says that's the best thing for you, because you get a good immune system.
Well, with certain hand sanitizers, the ones that are antibacterial, it actually kills all the good bacteria on your hands.
Well, they can't differentiate.
Then a lot of people will develop like warts and they'll get things on their hands. So there's different hand sanitizers. But
I thought they were going to eliminate all that, or do they still do it?
No, with COVID, no, they're forking that hand sanitizer out. They give it to you for free. They go when you go to Home Depot. Last time we went.
Yeah, I know, but. Yeah, because there was a big thing on that quite a few years ago about how people shouldn't use that soaps that kill all
the antimicrobial soaps.
Yeah.
Honestly,
the thing
is though, I've also heard things. Basically, the soaps are very similar. It's just using soap kills things on your hands. So it's one of those.
What I want to know though is, you said you had an over the phone examination.
Mm-hmm. Well,
how they do a prostate exam over the phone? That must be interesting.
Well,
all right, Kim, go grab the Vaseline.
You should feel this.
I've never had one of those.
Oh, okay.
He's asked, and I said, no, that's all right. Because what they do is they do a PSA test. And the PSA tells you if there's something. So, I mean, the finger one is kind of out of style. A lot of doctors still do it. But I mean, when you take a PSA test, don't ask me if something's high, then you would for sure have one. But
That's really nice to know now. It's like, just tell them, it's like, it's time for that. No, I want this test. Forget that.
When you have a blood test, that it's all automatic.
I know. They
that.
do all sorts of crazy stuff with blood tests. So that's just one of those things now. If like I'm 36 now, I'm creeping closer to that time, and when they go, oh, it's time, and I can be like, no, you can do that with a blood test. You don't need to do that.
This is 2020.
This is 2020.
The blood.
It's a lot of things like that, with like taking temperature and stuff. Like I remember when we told the kids that as babies and stuff, like a lot of times to take temperature of babies, like
In the butt.
They still do that. I watch that with Ben because he's little, and they just go. They just shove that in there. I was like, I'm just looking at him. It's like, I'm so sorry, son. I was just looking at him.
One of the days we were taking Lily's temperature with our thermometer at her house, and I told her that we used that same one when she was a baby, and she connected the dots. And she's like, wait, what? I'm like, no, just kidding.
It's a rectal thermometer, honey.
It never gets washed.
It's a family heirloom.
That has been
It's been in all of us. Your grandparents. Your great grandparents.
the neighbors.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, it's in
Well,
the
you're getting good bacteria.
Nice.
Well, I'm gonna go home.
You're gonna go
Well,
home.
good luck. I will.
Yes.
If I don't get the big one,
Come
I
and
hope
get
you
me
do.
if you get the big one.
Oh, I will.
Well, I always love
here you should.
him pulling down. I always know, like, if it's in the middle of the day, like first 2 days of hunting season, if it's like 10, 11 o'clock, and his truck comes rolling down here, he's got something.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like pulls up and he's got that look on his face, like
Yeah.
nothing to see here.
Well, normally I would sit longer.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Yes. Remember, guys, 11 o'clock is the witching hour for
All right.
10 to... And the thing is, you won't see nothing else moving probably before, and I know how hard it is to sit when you don't see nothing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
probably,
So we
I got
should
2 books.
Sleep till like
I'll be
9.
okay.
Right.
I'll be up at 7:30.
I gotta remind myself that all the time because by about 9:30,
My first
I'm
year, I
ready
shot
to
at
get up
7:30 in the morning, but it's a spike.
I want to have that one time in my life of a hunting season where I go out in the blind and I'm freezing cold for 30 minutes, and then a deer walks in and I shoot it, and
I've
I'm
had
done.
that.
I've had that a couple
I would
times.
love for that
I've
to
had
happen.
that a lot of
See,
times.
there it's
Because
just like you
there
see the
used to be
first thing
so
that
many
moves and
deer
you
here
kill
when I
it. It's like,
started.
oh, I'm cold.
Those
Oh,
little
there's a deer.
bucks
Bang.
were-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be just barely out in the morning and get light in it.
That's why I have high hopes for going back to this location, because like the years that I've hunted there, I've always every single year seen spike horns and fork horns and things like that. Like I always see that,
Yeah.
and a lot
There's
more.
a
deer.
lot less deer though this year. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
COVID.
It's true.
Oh, acorns.
What do you mean?
Well, we got a few oaks here, but the hill up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just probably by your house too. Tons of acorns.
So the real spot you should have a blind right up
Acorns
behind your house.
is like free steak dinners for them.
I see. Okay.
But I'll admit, I walked over the top of that hill and around, and there were acorns everywhere, and I never seen a deer, and I didn't even see a lot of signs. So,
Well, we'll see.
but yeah, because other years sometimes we've had poorer years when there was a lot of acorns up on the hill.
Okay.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yep.
Glad you came down.
Yep.
That was what I was gonna bring. I won't do it today tomorrow just because of the weather. I was gonna bring because if it was super windy, what I was gonna do, because I figured they might not come out where I was.
Yeah.
I was just gonna bring a chair, like one of those folding out chairs, and just go plop it down somewhere, out down in that swamp more below me,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just walk down there and just go sit right off the bat.
I can't hear good enough to do that anymore.
Well, I figured nothing could hear me. That's why I was gonna do it. Like if it was super windy, nothing would hear me, because I figured they might all just hunker down and not
I
come
feel
out.
like I'm cheating nowadays because I sit in a pop-up.
I know. I got to experience the.
You are cheating, Kim.
No. Says the one who I had to bring the propane tank for to keep your heat going.
Yes.
Oh yeah, let's make time.
Cadartic
Yeah.
was on couch there.
Oh, thank you.
It's his lucky one.
No, it's just the one I had with the guitar, bro.
This computer's brand new.
Okay.
It was 100% when I started. It's at 7% now.
Wow.
It dies.
Really?
It dies. My 2015 MacBook will last like days, and this brand new one, 2020, will last. We've been talking for almost 2 hours and it's almost dead. We've been. I don't know, maybe because it's heavy duty. It's been recording the whole time, but
Yeah, because that might do it also.
And I checked the battery health and it says normal, but I just can't believe it dies this fast.
Yeah, it's something.
Depends on what you're doing. The recording very well might
Yeah.
eat up that because recording, that's a lot of video. Video usually does the memory card.
There's no
memory.
video. I mean that's fit filming. But
Yeah, but I'm just
Yeah.
I was thinking I didn't know if that was just coming in.
Oh,
here.
Eric.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. I'll just sync up the clips, which is cool and super
I
easy.
hooked the trailer up. I'm sure the tire will be
right.
fine. I started
goodbye,
the
everybody.
four-wheeler.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
On your four-wheeler?
I started it, so